welcome to another edition of ITV Sport Classics. In this week's programme, we're going back to 1976 and an epic duel for the World Formula One Drivers' Championship between the late James Hunt and Niki Lauda. Over the course of the season, Hunt faced everything the rulebook could throw at him, while Lauda contemplated a fate far more intimidating. Lauda was well ahead of Hunt in the championship race when the checkered flag fell at the British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch. But Lauda's car touched Clay Regazzoni's at the very first bend, causing a multiple pile-up. Hunt was involved, his car damaged, but when the race was stopped, he took a shortcut back to the pits. Hunt took his place for the restart, although the Ferrari team claimed he was ineligible because he didn't complete that first lap. The protest was overturned and Hunt stormed away, settling into second place behind Lauda's Ferrari, with the Austrian's teammate Regazzoni in third. Lauda dominated the first half of the race, but he succumbed to the Englishman's pressure on lap 45. Hunt hung on to win the race. Now he was second in the championship, 23 points behind, with 7 races to run. But the championship was nothing compared to the disaster of the Nurburgring, when Lauda crashed at 140 miles an hour. He was trapped in the wreckage for 40 seconds, while 4 drivers, including Englishman Guy Edwards, fought to free him. Lauda was helped to the side of the track, semi-conscious and seriously hurt. Well, despite that horrific accident, Lauda was back in action in double quick time. Even so, he couldn't stop Hunt, making up almost all of the gap there was between them. Coming up to the last race of the season, at Fuji, the Japanese Grand Prix, there were just 3 points between Lauda, the leader, and Hunt, the would-be champion.
Electric tension here at Fuji. 80,000 bedraggled race fans and the racing grudge match of the decade. And there's Mario Andretti in pole position, James Hunt alongside him. On row 2 of the grid, there is Niki Lauda. And on row 3 of the grid, Jody Scheckter from South Africa in the 6-wheeled Tyrrell. Behind him, the rest of the 25-car field. And they're off. Clouds of spray. James Hunt is edging into the lead. That first corner could be very dodgy. Let's just look. It looks as if James Hunt's in front. John Watson on the right-hand side of your picture there. Mario Andretti. Watson twitching, but it's James Hunt in the lead. Watson second and Andretti third. So James Hunt has done exactly what he wants to do, get in the lead, because when you're second or third or fourth or wherever, you've got that spray in your face. But when you're leading, no other car can throw up that great plume of spray you see behind James Hunt there. James Hunt in the Marlboro McLaren. The same car that's taken him to victory 6 times already this year, 7 times if you count that British Grand Prix. The vital race for James Hunt. The race that could make James Hunt the British world champion. The first British world champion since Jackie Stewart. But look at that mist. How can they drive through that? James Hunt, you can see now why the race was delayed an hour and a half. This mist rolls down from Mount Fuji and then just as quickly rolls back again. But James Hunt's making no mistakes, completing the first lap, throwing up clouds of spray. And look at that lead, about must be 4 seconds there. John Watson second. James Hunt in the lead. James Hunt twitching, look at that. Now Andretti, the American, has won 1 Grand Prix in the past, way back in 1971 when he drove for Ferrari in a 3rd car in between his American commitments. He won in South Africa. He won a non-championship race as well at the Ontario circuit in California, but only 1 win, 1 Grand Prix win for Andretti. James Hunt is the leader of this race. Streaming track really got to pick his line. And there's Jody Scheckter going down the inside. Perhaps he thinks there's better grip on the inside and making a challenge for 2nd place from Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti second at the moment. Scheckter trying hard for 3rd place. Here's Hunt feeling his way. Very fast track, this Fuji circuit. In the dry they lapped at 134 miles an hour. But speed's very much down, probably 20 seconds slower today. Streaming wet track. This terrible mist, and there another twitch. Brambilla in the Orange March. Always a charge at Brambilla. The March is reputed to go very well in the wet weather. They've always been quick in wet weather races. Brambilla could be quite a threat in this race. Lauda is in the pits. There's a conference, a cockpit conference going on there. That's with his head right into the cockpit. The chief engineer of Ferrari, Mario Forghieri. Forghieri steps back. Now what is happening? Lauda's getting out of the car. Well, this makes Hunt's chances much stronger, of course. And they're talking to Daniele Ordetto, the team manager. Lauda explaining something. The mechanics don't seem to be rushing around the Ferrari. So there is James Hunt in the lead, and Niki Lauda seemingly out of the battle already. Now that is a turn up for the books. That isn't something we expected at all. We expected this to be a toe-to-toe clash between James Hunt and Niki Lauda. James Hunt, 29, Surrey stockbroker's son, there he is. And Lauda, 27, a Viennese paper mill owner's son, in fact. Lauda, the world champion, the reigning world champion, but if Hunt can keep this up, he won't be the world champion much longer. Of course, if Hunt drops out of the race for any reason, and there's 1,001 reasons Hunt could drop out of this race, then Lauda will still be champion, even just sitting there in the pits. And there is Lauda in the pits, talking to one of the Austrian journalists. Already he's got his racing jacket on, keeping warm. And there's Brambilla. Brambilla, who moved up briefly into second place, coming into the pits. Looks as if these pits are going to be really busy today. And they're on lap 5. Number 11, of course, James Hunt in first position. And there's Brambilla. A quick front tyre change. March crew from Bicester in Oxfordshire working very quickly. Brambilla, the oldest man in the race. And he's off. Now that is copybook pits work, but in the lead, James Hunt. James Hunt still with that cloud of spray rushing around this Fuji track. And there in second place, Mario Andretti and the John Player Special. The Lotus team started in confusion this year, but now right back on the pace, and Andretti, of course, on pole position. James Hunt in the lead, picking his part of the track. But now there's no doubt about it, Brambilla is catching Hunt. Brambilla in that orange march. There's the third man, Andretti. Mario Andretti switching the car a little bit. Jochen Mass in fourth place, the teammate, of course. And there's Dupaille trying to drive past the other Tyrrell. He's probably the car that Dupaille himself used to drive. Six-wheel French-driven Tyrrell going past the four-wheel Japanese-driven Tyrrell. So Hoshino back to fifth place, but a good performance nevertheless. And a great performance from James Hunt. No doubt the pits have told him that Lauda's already out of the race. He knows he's got to finish. And there Mazzario, Arturo Mazzario, the tiny little Italian in the Frank Williams team, coming into the pits. Oh, and Hoshino's in the pits too. Now, those Bridgestone, they're Japanese Bridgestone tyres. First time ever in Grand Prix racing. It looks as if they aren't really up to the job. It looks as if they've had a problem with that left front tyre. They're putting another one on. But great to see a Japanese car in the Grand Prix. The main pit straight. There's Hunt and Brambilla very close behind now, closing on him all the time now. Brambilla, known as the Monza Gorilla, of course. His tactics sometimes a little dubious. I wonder what's going to happen when he starts attacking Hunt. Well, he's starting to attack James Hunt already. Brambilla only won one Grand Prix, the Austrian. He won it in the wet as a good wet weather driver, although he does tend to fling it down the road every so often. Of course, when he won the Austrian Grand Prix, he spun off as he waved to the checkered flag and crashed. An amazing race that was, just over a year ago. And he's trying to drive inside James Hunt. Hunt cuts across the orange March nose. Hunt's not having that at all. Get back, Vittorio, he's saying. But this time there's no getting back. But is he going straight on? And he's spinning. He's missed Hunt. What an incredible spin. But he's still back in the race. Got first gear very quickly. See, James Hunt's very glad to see that happen in his mirrors and not right in front of him. That almost took James Hunt out of the race and out of the World Championship. Patrick Dupaille, small, only about 5'6", rarely smiles. And closing on James Hunt. And making a passing manoeuvre. And Patrick Dupaille has taken the lead of this motor race. Patrick Depailler first, James Hunt second. Now, is James Hunt in trouble? Depailler closed very quickly on Hunt, and I suspect that Hunt may have a problem. His engine sounds okay, so probably be in the tyre department, maybe in the gearbox department. His gear changes seem crisp enough, so perhaps he really is having a battle with his tyres. Now he's going out wide there, keeping in the wet section of the track rather than the dry. Patrick Depailler leading a motor race. I wonder what's going through his mind right now. He knows he's never won one before. What's going through James Hunt's mind? He knows if he stays in second place, he'll be world champion. Does he fight back? Does he consolidate? But there, Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti, who at one stage Hunt almost lapped. Now we find Mario Andretti closing on James Hunt. And there's the Tyrrell pit. Smiles in the Tyrrell pits to see Patrick Depailler in the lead. Alan Jones through the picture again. Depailler closing on Jones this time. Jones driving a good race, up to 6th place. But there, Andretti is in front, James Hunt is 3rd. Now, of course, if James Hunt finished 5th in this race, he isn't world champion. 3rd, he's okay. He will still be champion if he finishes 4th. And Depailler sliding, and Andretti making a challenge. Will he make it? Depailler keeping to the inside line. Yes, and Andretti's done it. That's the same spot, of course, where Brambilla spun. Those two didn't spin. And Andretti's in the lead. Mario Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. And Depailler's car looks all over the place. Andretti, 36 years old, won at Indy, won a Daytona stock car race, won top sports car races. Undoubtedly the best all-rounder in motor racing. And they're really hanging it out. Patrick Depailler trying to keep up. I don't know if he's got a problem. Like James Hunt, he may be in time. Is he going into the pits? He's slowed. No, he hasn't turned into pit road. And look at those sparks. That car's running on the rim, and Depailler still probably going faster than you or I would go in a road car with a completely flat tyre, and sparks cascading out of the back of the car. That can only do harm. That sort of bumping and crashing could damage the rear suspension. By pressing on, smoke coming out of the tyre. It's obviously getting very, very hot now. He must be cursing to himself. French oaths, no doubt, under that blue and red crash helmet. And the sparks still flying as other cars go by. There is the Elf crew ready to change the tyre. They've obviously had a message. What's wrong with Depailler? Where is James Hunt? Jody Scheckter out of the race. What a bad time for the Tyrrell team, with 3 laps to go. And we still see on the scoreboard James Hunt is 2nd, 3rd Regazzoni, 4th Alan Jones, 5th Gunnar Nielsen, and that's showing Harold Ertl 6th. And James Hunt is in the pits. Look at that left front tyre, right front tyre, sorry. No tread on it at all. And the other one is flat. They're going to change all 4. You can hear the hammers going there. Andretti's still in the lead. James Hunt obviously in trouble now. The tyre quickly going on. There's 2 mechanics. Howard Moore and Ray Grant working feverishly with the whole McLaren team. Now, where does that leave Hunt? Is Hunt still in the championship hunt? Charts are getting confused here. James Hunt back in the race. Just about 4 laps to go. I think Hunt is 4th. Hunt in 4th place, and that would keep him in the championship. There's Mario Andretti in the lead. Andretti leading. Hunt, of course, now has fresh tyres. Could make a lot of difference. These last 2 or 3 laps he could reel off very, very quickly. What a grandstand finish this is going to be. Right to the tape we're taking it. Yes, James Hunt is in 4th place. That's good enough. Let's just hope those tyres are good enough too. And there's Mario Andretti passing Clay Regazzoni. We haven't seen much of Regazzoni in this race. certainly looks assured of his second ever Grand Prix win. But we've seen Hunt lead, we've seen Depailler lead, we've even seen Brambilla lead for about half a second. Mario Andretti, Nazareth, Pennsylvania in the United States, born in Italy, moved to America when at the age of 16. Regazzoni in 5th place and could be a danger to Hunt if Hunt hasn't got into the groove with those new tyres. Now the scoreboard is showing Hunt in 5th. Now that's contrary to the lap chart I have, and I think that Hunt is 4th. So we just have to wait and see, but I've seen those sort of lap boards wrong before, and I'm confident Hunt is 4th. 3 laps to go. Mario Andretti in the lead. And look at that. Hunt going past Alan Jones. James Hunt has gone past Alan Jones. That assures him of 3rd place. Hunt moves up to 3rd place in front of Alan Jones. Alan Jones holding the highest position he's ever held in a Grand Prix. Superb drive in the Surtees, but no match for James Hunt. Mario Andretti on his way to victory. Gunnar Nielsen going well in the second JPS. Gunnar Nielsen in 6th place. A tension here with just 2 laps to go. Mario Andretti dives off the banking section into that long right-hand corner, and they have 1 lap to go, and the scoreboard seems to have sorted itself out. Scoreboard sorting itself out, showing Depailler 2nd, just flashing off Hunt 3rd, Jones 4th, Regazzoni 5th, 6th place Gunnar Nielsen. Gunnar Nielsen, teammate to this man, Mario Andretti, 2nd oldest man in the race, born in Trieste in Italy, but naturalised American. An out-and-out racing enthusiast. Nothing Mario likes better than to talk about racing. But what about James Hunt? James Hunt, he's 3rd now. It looks as if he's going to be Britain's new world champion. What a moment for Hunt. What must he be thinking right now? Will the car hold together? Is the engine still holding its oil pressure? Are the tyres still holding all their air? Mario Andretti. And Mario Andretti takes the flag. Mario Andretti has won the first Japanese Grand Prix. And Depailler trying to get by him, but he's a lap behind. And there's James Hunt. James Hunt finishing 3rd and almost catching Patrick Depailler. And James Hunt is the world champion. Mario Andretti is the winner of the race. What a finish. Our new world champion, James Hunt, by just 1 single point.
So Hunt the Shunt became Hunt the world champion. It was a pinnacle he realised he would never reclimb, and just 3 years later he retired from the sport. But in that time he managed to become fast friends with his former rival Lauda, and the two were happy to often sit back and look back on the events of 1976. Well, we'll be looking back again in the next edition of ITV Sport Classics. We'll see you then.